Hi everyone, my name is Charlie, and today is the release date of my second book, Indisputably Doris. Indisputably Doris is a sequel to my first book, Our Doris, and follows the same character of Mrs Doris Copeland as she strives to retain her position as interim chairwoman of the Women's Institute. I feel I ought to give some background as to how I decided to continue writing about Doris, because I know in a few of my writing update videos I've talked now about how I took a creative break and how at that time I didn't know what I wanted to write, because I have been writing about the character of Doris since 2011. In fact, I have talked often about the fact that the character of Doris came about because we got given writing bursts at the Macclesfield Creative Writing Group, and because I couldn't come up with anything to write one day, I created this character of Doris to talk about gardening, and out of nowhere had my first line: "Our Doris has developed an unhealthy obsession with slugs. She's in the garden from daybreak to the one show pouring salt on the beggars." And subsequently, each week, I would write, if I became stuck, I would write a writing burst about Doris. And over time, this came to be expected of me. And, you know, maybe that was the wrong thing. Maybe I shouldn't have run with this character, but it just happened that a friend of mine, Margaret Holbrook, who also is a local independent writer, she released a book called Cul-de-sac Tales, which is a set amount of stories about the different people living in this cul-de-sac. And the way she wrote that gave me the template and the idea of how I needed to write the first Doris book, Our Doris. And once I got the template, I then realised that I did actually have a story because of a garden safari, Poynton in Bloom, that takes place in Poynton, and I thought this is just the type of event that Doris would want to enter to show off, because that is what Doris is about. She is a housewife. I call her an atomic housewife on the blurb of the second book because she is very particular about social niceties and dinner parties and how to behave and what to wear, and I'd say she's like, I have always described her as Hyacinth Bouquet with a tendency to throw table lamps, because she does have this vicious streak. And so I took that storyline and I ran with it, and it took me a while to settle down because I had this stigma towards independent authors and people who publish their own work. And although it was something that I wanted to try, I was also very sure that if I was going to do it, I wanted to do it properly. And I'm very lucky in that I have quite a close-knit group of writer friends around me, and was able to ask my friend Lindsay to help me edit the first book. I have to say, I probably didn't publicise Our Doris as much as I could have done, and I didn't let it fall by the wayside. It's always been there, but it's definitely not had the full attention to publicity that it could have done, which is a bit upsetting, but the majority of people that have read the book have given me good reviews, and I am glad about that because I did really put my all into this book and really enjoyed it. And when I wrote it, and as I was writing it, I knew that I wanted to write a sequel. I wanted to get 3 books about Doris out there. I wanted to do 3 because I never wanted the character to become a caricature, and I wanted to strengthen her character, and I always say that I like to write about older characters. Now, with the first book, I did have a few worries about the character Doris. She's a woman who is... Her rivals in this book tend to be women as well, her peers, and there wasn't a lot of friendship going on, and she had a lot to say, but she was very upper middle class, and she was looking down on the working class a lot. And last year, when I realised that I wanted to see more working class voices, I decided that was something that I really had to improve upon in Indisputably Doris. And so, in this second book, I have tried to focus on Doris creating strong relationships with other women. The book is still a comedy, but there are definitely some more serious themes within here that I had thought that I couldn't include in the first book because I wanted to keep the first book very light-hearted. But then I was looking at the comedies that I really enjoy, and they do actually explore some darker, more serious themes, and I realised that I can actually do that, and there is a way to do that while still retaining the comedy. I also feel like with this book, I have managed to steer clear of making Doris into this caricature, and I feel like she is more of a character, and she is more grounded in this book than she has been in anything that I have written previously. And I also made a conscious effort with this book to try and reduce the amount of punchlines in there, because the first book, I really appreciate the way I was writing humour then, but I would go and I would read the book and audience members would miss jokes because I would read a joke and then the next one would come along and they would have missed it because it was that quick after the first one. So I made a concerted effort with this book to make sure that although the comedy was there, there was also a story to back it up, and I really think that I've done that. And I'm not sure whether I have improved on the first book because, as I said with the first book, I was getting good reviews, but then I couldn't remember how I'd written the first book in the first place. So I really just had to take my time and come back to this book. And it does annoy me that it has taken me 2 years to get this book to people, but I think that it will have been worth the wait. And also means that people can go back and they can reread this book. I just spent the last 2 years reading it and rereading it to people. And I think there are very few people in the world that have actually heard Indisputably Doris. With the first book, I was going around before the book was released and promoting it quite heavily from 6 months before the book came out to when it actually came out, and then I did 2 years of events, so I really read that book a lot and I was able to try out jokes and trial them on people. But with this one, I've kept it very close to my chest. I've been very fearful of sharing it with anyone because whilst I have really enjoyed the process of writing the book and I really enjoy what I have here and I like the products, I like the relationships that the characters have in this book and how they grow, I have had this fear that other people will not like the book as much as I like the book. So if you do read it, then do get in touch with me and tell me what you thought, even if you did absolutely despise it. If you hated it so much that you wish they'd put me in a crate and send me off to Honolulu, do that. I might get struck by a torpedo. Just let me know what you think of it, because we're all friends here and we all like reviews and they all help us in the end to improve ourselves. The book is currently available to purchase on my website. I will leave a link to that somewhere. There is a giveaway on Goodreads running from today until the end of October, and I will continue to leave links to that each time I make a video. And I will also be taking the book to quite a few libraries over the next couple of months, so I will leave a link to that page on my website as well. But if you want me to come to any of your local libraries, do get in touch, tell me which library that is and I will contact them myself. Or go in and ask your libraries and tell your libraries that you would like me to go to there, because it would make it easier for me. My contact details are always in the description. This is Indisputably Doris. It has been an extremely difficult book to get finished, and I am rather glad that it's now out there and people can go and purchase it. I also feel like I ought to thank a few people for helping me with this book. And mainly, they're the people that are going to be in the acknowledgements of the book. But firstly, I would like to thank my friend Lindsay, who is one of the 2 people, the other being my mother, who actually saw the book being written and saw everything about this book come to pass from when I started it in February 2016 until I finished it in February this year. So, there we go. Thank you to Lindsay. Also, thank you to my mother, who actually, as I can't drive, took me to many events for the first book. And we have done a lot of travelling across the north of England to bring Doris to the masses. So, thank you to my mother. Also, thank you to Joy Winkler. She is a poet who quite a lot of people should know. I'll leave a link to her website as well, but a lot of you should be knowing who Joy is. She does a lot of great poetry and was Cheshire Poet Laureate back in 2005 or 2007, one of those years. And she's a very good friend of mine, and she stepped in at the last minute to edit the book for me. And so I'm exceptionally grateful that she did that. Who else do we have in these acknowledgements? Well, there's a lot of people in these acknowledgements. So I will thank the Macclesfield Creative Writing Group, because they were where Doris was created, and if I hadn't gone to there, then she never would have come around. She never would have existed in this form, because I never pushed myself with my comedy. I just always just let it go to the fall to the wayside. And so the Creative Writing Group really gave me a chance to do that. I'd also like to thank the librarians and the readers and the bookshop owners who have really helped me to get Doris out there and helped me connect with readers, which I wouldn't have been able to, because it can be quite difficult as a person who is self-publishing their work to get their books out there and to get more people reading their books. And I'm extremely grateful for all the opportunities that I have had in the last 2 years, and I'm really looking forward to all of the readings and the events that I've got coming up over these next few months. That is that. If you would like to purchase a copy of Indisputably Doris or Our Doris, I will leave links to Amazon and to my website and to the Kindle editions. I'm extremely sorry for how nasal I have sounded throughout this entire video, but you know, when you have a book coming out, you tend to catch a cold, so I'm going to drink some tea, have some cough sweets, enjoy myself watching Dinner Ladies, maybe upload this video later, maybe not, we'll see. I have rambled for about half an hour here. I am going to hate editing this video, and my sister's dog is currently asleep by my feet. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the comments, and until next time, that is all.